Hi, today I'm going to talk about how I found my first job. Wait, that was the other video. Hi, today I'm going to talk about why I left my first job in around 8 months. I worked at a small tech startup in the Bay Area, which had a little less than 10 people, and I was the only front-end developer. A lot of people say that you should not leave a job without having another one lined up, and I totally agree now, but back then I just did it anyway. My family were also kind of concerned that I was leaving without a job lined up, but I just told them to believe in me and that I'll be able to find a job. And they were probably just like, whatever, go for it. I guess I was a little bit overconfident and a little naive, but I never imagined a world where I would not be able to find a job. That's how much motivation I had to make my situation a little bit better. I guess some of the reasons why you shouldn't leave your job is that it looks worse to recruiters. They would always ask me why I don't have a job. I would pretty much just say the same things every single time, which was that I was looking for somewhere where I would be able to improve my coding skills because the job that I was working at didn't have any code reviews or tests or collaboration. Yeah, and I think that reasoning worked. Another reason why you should not leave is that you don't know how long the job search will take. It could take weeks, months, years. I don't know, maybe you won't even be able to find a job. At least for me, I was able to move back home, so I didn't have to pay rent. And I was able to devote all my time to the job search, which made it a lot easier. I started working at this job in October of 2021. And I always planned on leaving around the 1 year mark because that's when the bonus hits, which was around 10K. I thought that by the 1 year mark, I would be able to have enough experience to be able to find a job that's a lot better and pays a lot more. So I was getting paid 90K in the Bay Area, which is really not that much because the cost of living there is pretty insane. I was fine with this though because the most important part to me was the experience and the tech stack. I had two managers, which were the non-technical CEO and the CTO. A few months into my job, there were a few cases where the CEO would be kind of micromanaging. He would have some unrealistic expectations and ask me for updates constantly. This didn't happen too often, but whenever it did, it made me pretty unhappy. And I'm not the type of person to stay in an environment that I don't really like, since my mental health and my happiness are the most important things to me. So by this point, which was around February 2022, I started planning on leaving. I started doing LeetCode again, and I basically did LeetCode most days after work and on the weekends to be able to prepare myself for the job search. But this wasn't the only reason I wanted to leave. The job itself was pretty easy because the standards weren't too high. At a startup, the most important thing is to be able to churn out new features without any care to the code quality. That's why we didn't have any code reviews or tests. I felt really bad about the code I was writing, even though I was able to get it to work. The issue was that it was not maintainable. I'm pretty sure in the future they're gonna have to refactor the code I wrote a lot. Because I knew I was at a place where my code was not very good, I really wanted to improve my coding skills, but I didn't really have any mentorship or collaboration with my teammates. The startup was so small that each employee actually had their own office. Yeah, I had my own office. While I liked the privacy, it did feel a little isolating. It always kind of felt like I was working alone. We would all eat lunch in our own offices as well. And the only way I thought I could change my circumstances was to find a job at a much larger company. In May of 2022, I thought that I was ready. I did a lot of LeetCode and I was already interviewing a lot. So I prepared to turn in my 2-week notice because I only wanted to focus on the job search. I thought that it was really hard interviewing while working in office. I basically had to take some PTO days or go outside of the office to take some calls, and it always felt really bad. I really wanted to only focus on the job search. I didn't really want to deal with these things anymore. The 2-week notice was really hard for me because it was my first time doing it. I thought, well, it's my first company. I'm probably not going to see my coworkers again, at least for a really long time. On the day that I was going to give the notice, I was walking back and forth from my office to the CEO's office, and my heart was literally like beating out of my chest. I didn't know if I could go through with it, but then I thought that I really have to do this for myself. So I got all the courage that I had, and I was able to go to his office and give my 2-week notice. When I gave my 2-week notice, the CEO was really surprised, but he accepted it. I was like, wow, that was so easy. I think it was because I still had a good relationship with him. I pretty much always did what I was told to do, so I guess he had no reason to dislike me. The CTO, which I had a pretty good relationship with, asked me if I wanted to change roles to stay, and I guess he basically asked what I was looking for. I told him that I really wanted to improve and be able to find a job that would provide me mentorship. But he told me that that's something that they can't provide because they're too busy. And then he told me that this kind of felt like a breakup, which was really funny to me because I did not expect that from him. Later, the CEO asked me if I had a job lined up, and I told him I didn't. He thought that I did a pretty good job so far, so he proposed to let me work remote until I find a new job. After thinking about it for a little bit, I thought, wow, like there's no downside to that, so I might as well take it. I ended up moving back home to Southern California, and I worked remote for about a month, and then I decided to leave anyway because the problems were still there, and I was really tired of interviewing while working, which was something I already said in the video. I just wanted to focus on interviewing so I could just get this over with and find my new job. So I basically gave like a month and 2-week notice. I left my job in June of 2022, which was a little bit before the tech bubble started to burst. After many interviews, I received a job offer 2 months later in August, which is my current job. Leaving was actually one of the best decisions I've ever made. In hindsight, at the job that I'm working at right now, it was pretty much everything that I was looking for. I don't know how it turned out so well, but we have code reviews and tests, and I have teammates that I talk to pretty often, and I feel like we all have a pretty good relationship with each other. When I left my first job, I really had no idea what kind of job I would find. Maybe it would have been the same kind of job or say another job without code reviews or tests. So I feel really fortunate that it all kind of just worked out in the end. The second job search was a lot easier though, since I had at least a little bit of experience. And if you're thinking about quitting your job in this job market, I would really not recommend it because it seems really difficult to find literally any job. Anyways, that's my story. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.